Hey guys, tonight we drift back to the very edge of existence, before dawn learned to crack the sky, before stars had names. You stand, or rather float, in the suffocating embrace of primordial darkness. It's not just dark, it's an absence so profound it is weight, pressing against your skin like wet velvet. No breeze, no scent, just the low, resonant hum of nothingness itself. Forget your phone's flashlight. Here, even the concept of light hasn't been invented yet. Frankly, you probably wouldn't survive 5 minutes without screaming into the void, and the void wouldn't care. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Where's your pillow for tonight? Drop a comment with your city and local time. Let's see how far this drowsy tale travels. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Out of this crushing, silent chaos, not the messy desk kind, but the capital C, swirling cosmic soup kind. Two entities slowly coalesce. First, Erebus, the very essence of deep shadow. Imagine the darkness under your bed, but sentient and stretching into infinity. Then Nyx, his sister and counterpart, night personified. Not just nighttime, but night is a force, dense, cool, and velvety, like ink spilled across eternity. No moon, no crickets, just stillness. And it's here, in this unnervingly quiet marriage of shadow and night, that our star, Hypnos, first stirs. No dramatic birth cry, no celestial fanfare, just a soft, inevitable unfurling, a whisper of consciousness dedicated solely to rest. Mainstream myth, courtesy of Hesiod's Theogony, paints this tidy family portrait. Chaos begets Erebus and Nyx, who beget Hypnos and his twin, Thanatos, death. But we'll meet that cheery fellow later. Quirky tidbit, some ancient whispers suggest Hypnos didn't just represent sleep. He was its first physical sensation, a gentle pressure behind mortal eyelids, a sigh in the marrow of early beings. Historians still argue whether chaos truly birthed Nyx, or if night simply was eternal and uncreated, a concept that makes even philosophers rub their temples and reach for herbal tea. Feel that heaviness in your own eyelids. That's Hypnos reaching across millennia. His origin isn't a thunderclap. It's the first sigh of relief in a universe learning how to close its eyes. A realm where silence isn't empty, but full of potential, of dreams waiting to be spun, of the profound, almost sacred, hushed before the first snore of creation. Nyx wraps her sun in her starless cloak, and already, the air feels softer, like the first hint of down settling over an unfathomable abyss. The weight of eternity lessens, just a fraction. Sleep isn't an afterthought here. It's a foundational act of cosmic mercy. That starless cloak Nyx wrapped around Hypnos, it's less a blanket and more of family tapestry. Unraveling it feels like tracing constellations in negative space. You stand beside the newly drowsy Hypnos, peering into the profound gloom swirling around his mother. And out of that gloom, figures condense. Not born, not summoned, simply manifesting from the essence of night herself. First is twin brother, Thanatos. Imagine Hypnos radiating soft, heavy warmth, like a weighted blanket made of twilight. Now picture his twin, just as inevitable, but chillingly cold. Thanatos isn't decay. He's the perfect stillness at the end, where Hypnos offers a gentle release from life. Thanatos is the quiet closing of the book. Mainstream myth, again from Hesiod, lists them as direct siblings, born together from Nyx, embodying two sides of the same profound coin. Quirky tidbit, some fragmented Orphic hymns whisper they shared a cradle woven from spider silk and shadows, forever linked, yet never quite touching. Historians still argue whether Thanatos was truly feared or seen as a merciful counterpart to the violence of other Deathbringers. Was he the kinder face of the inevitable? But Nyx wasn't done. Oh no. Think of her as the ultimate, slightly overwhelming matriarch. From the same unfathomable darkness emerge Momus, Blame, the eternal nitpicker. Imagine him critiquing the very fabric of creation over cosmic coffee. Oasis, misery, a heavy sigh-given form, and the Moirai, the fates. Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos materialize, not as stern crones, but as vast, shimmering presences, already spinning, measuring, and snipping the threads of everything. You feel the faint vibration of Clotho's spindle, a low hum beneath the silence. Lachesis' measuring rod seems to stretch into the void itself, and Atropos, her shears glint with cold, final light. They aren't just Hypnos sisters, they're the architects of destiny, weaving sleep and death into the very pattern of existence. Mainstream fact, Hesiod places them firmly as Nyx's daughters. Quirky tidbit, some local cults believed Hypnos could gently loosen the fate's threads for mortals, allowing brief, blessed reprieves in dreams. Historians still argue whether Oasis represented profound existential suffering or just really bad Mondays personified. The debate hinges on fragmented pottery shards and scholarly caffeine levels. Then come the Carice, less distinct figures, more like flocks of shadowy, whispering birds drawn to battlefields, embodiments of violent fate. And Nemesis, righteous anger, a cool, implacable presence radiating quiet, unsettling judgment. Philides, affection, offers a fleeting, warm shimmer in the gloom, a stark contrast. Gera's, old age, drifts like gathering dust, a slow, inevitable weight. Eris, strife, crackles with chaotic energy nearby, a discordant note in the quiet. Apate deceit flickers, hard to pin down. It's less a family reunion, more a gathering of fundamental forces, swirling in the perpetual twilight of Nyx's domain. Hypnos, nestled close to Thanatos, seems almost serene amidst this unsettling pantheon. He's not the warrior, the judge, or the weaver. He's the soft exhale, the quiet pause. While Eris stirs trouble and Nemesis pursues vengeance, Hypnos offers the only universal respite. His power lies not in force, but in gentle, unavoidable surrender. He's the quiet cousin at the chaotic cosmic gathering, the one whose presence makes the sheer, overwhelming weight of existence feel momentarily manageable. You sense his influence even now, making the litany of abstract dread feel strangely distant, muffled, like troubling thoughts fading just before sleep truly takes hold. His siblings shape the harsh realities of life and death. Hypnos offers the essential, merciful pause in between. You leave the murmuring shadows of Nyx's realm. No farewells needed in a place where time droops like overripe fruit, and drift toward a different kind of quiet. Not emptiness, but full silence. The air thickens like honey left in cool shade, carrying the faintest floral sweetness. Underfoot, the gloom softens into something yielding, springy, almost botanical. Then you see them, poppies, not scattered, but a carpet so dense it swallows sound. Each bloom a drowsy fist of velvet, petals bruised dark in the low light. They're not red, not here. Think of crushed violets in midnight, swaying in a breeze you can't feel. Mainstream fact, Ovid's Metamorphoses pins this cave near the river Lethe. That's forgetfulness to you, where its waters murmur just loud enough to blur sharp thoughts. Quirky tidbit, some fragmentary orphicyms claim the cave's moss wasn't moss at all, but Hypnos's discarded yawns, fossilized into something spongy and cool. Historians still argue whether the Lethe's murmur was literal or just a metaphor for the brain's slide into delta waves, classic academic pillow talk. Ahead, the cave mouth yawns wider. No grand arch, just a slump in the landscape, like the earth itself decided to nap. Inside, the darkness isn't oppressive. It's velvet, not the cheap kind, but the heavy, curtain-drawn-at-noon kind that muffles street noise. You step in, and instantly, your shoulders drop. The air, cool but not chilly. It carries the scent of poppies, obviously, damp earth, and something else, like parchment stored in cedar, or maybe old, sun-warmed stone. No echoes, no drip of water, just silence with texture. Even your own breath softens, as if the cave politely absorbs its edges. To your left, a low stone ledge piled with what looks like gray wool, but closer inspection reveals it's cloud stuff, carded and spun into a mattress. Hypnos's bed. No posts, no canopy, just floating, lazy drifts of vapor. Mainstream Homeric hymn nods to its existence. Quirky fringe scrolls from Alexandria insist it's stuffed with owl feathers, nature's original noise-canceling material. Now the walls. They shimmer faintly, not with gems, but with condensed twilight, like liquid shadow pressed into stone. Touch one. Cool, smooth, and faintly vibrating, like a purring cat buried deep within rock. Some grooves suggest carvings. A closed eye here, a wing there, but they're blurred, half-erased, as if the cave itself is too sleepy for detail. Historians still argue whether ancient Greeks imagined this as a physical location in Hades or a mental landscape, a debate that's put generations of scholars to sleep mid-lecture. And the lethe. You hear it now, or rather feel it. A low, liquid thrum beneath the cave floor, seeping up through the poppy roots. Not a river you canoe on, unless your canoe was a hammock and your paddle a white flag. It's the original ASMR track, Forgetfulness as a Service. In the deepest recess, a pool of still water reflects nothing. Stare into it, and your own face blurs, replaced by fleeting, weightless shapes, half-formed dreams testing their wings. This is where Hypnos dips his horn, oh right. He carries one, dribbling sleep dust like a divine sandman. No torches, no fire. Light here is borrowed, second-hand. The faint gleam off Lethe's surface, the soft phosphorescence of those petal-dark poppies. It's less a cave, more a sensory deprivation tank curated by a god with impeccable taste. You find yourself sinking onto a poppy mound, body agreeing with the floor. Above, the ceiling drips stalactites of solidified silence. One breaks loose. It doesn't clatter. It dissolves mid-air into a puff of lavender-scented hush. Even your heartbeat seems to agree. Slower now, slower. Thanatos' realm may be final, but here, it's the universe hitting pause, a cosmic exhale. The ultimate 5-star review from existence itself. That heavy-lidded feeling deepening as you sink into the poppy mound? It's not just the cave's magic. It's Hypnos himself speaking in symbols. Forget dramatic lightning bolts or tridents. His power whispers through quiet emblems. First, the poppies pressing cool against your skin. Mainstream myth, courtesy of Ovid, links them directly to Hypnos. Their soporific sap a gift or weapon he wields. You brush a velvety petal, not just purple, but the deep, almost black hue of a sky moments before true nightfall. It leaves a faint, sweet dust on your fingertips. Quirky tidbit, some attic farmers whispered that poppies near graves weren't morning flowers, but Hypnos gently smoothing the transition for the newly dead, a final lullaby. Historians still argue whether the Greeks truly understood the opium connection medically, or just sensed the plant's profound, drowsy charisma, a debate often settled over strong wine and weak evidence. Feel that subtle pull towards the cloud-stuffed bed? That's the poppy's silent call, amplified by the god. Now glance upwards. See those shapes shifting in the condensed twilight of the cave walls? Wings, not the eagle-spread majesty of Zeus, nor the frantic flutter of Eros. Hypnos's wings are vast, soft, and perpetually half-furled, like a raven's feathers smoothed by countless nights. They're the color of smoke against a moonless sky. Mainstream depictions on Athenian kylixes, wine cups, consistently show him winged, emphasizing sleep's swift, enveloping arrival. You don't see Hypnos fly. You feel the sudden, gentle pressure of his descent, like a down comforter dropped from a grate. Silent height. Quirky fringe theory? A crumbling Thessalian scroll claimed Hypnos borrowed feathers from Nyctomani. The owl transformed into a bird of night by Athena, making his flight utterly noiseless. Historians still argue whether these wings represented speed, the soul's journey in dreams, or just a handy way for artists to differentiate him from his decidedly earthbound, snoring uncle, Somnus, his later Roman counterpart. The truth probably lies in the soft whoosh you almost hear as sleep finally takes hold. Then, resting against the cloud-stuffed bed, you spotted a horn. Not a war horn, blaring and brash. This is an rhyton, a curved drinking vessel, carved from something dark and smooth, maybe ebony or obsidian. It glimmers faintly, not with reflected light, but with its own internal, sleepy luminescence. Mainstream Homeric hymns mention Hypnos wielding it, filled not with wine, but with pure, liquid oblivion. Imagine dipping your fingers into the Lethe's waters below, then thickening that essence into something viscous and shimmering. That's his sleep dust. Quirky tidbit: Orphic fragments suggest the horn was a gift from Styx, the river of oaths, symbolizing the unbreakable pact between sleep and death, a pact sealed in silence. Historians still argue fiercely whether the horn represented animal horns used in ancient sleep potions, or the crescent moon, Selim's domain, another night wanderer, or was purely a divine prop for sprinkling cosmic melatonin. Watch as a wisp of vapor curls from its lip, not smoke, but condensed silence, smelling faintly of lavender and cool stone. He doesn't blast it like a trumpet. He dribbles it, a slow, mesmerizing stream of sparkling dust that catches in the thick cave air, drifting like lethargic fireflies towards your own heavy eyelids. One stray particle lands on your wrist. It doesn't sting or tickle. It just whispers heavier, deeper. It's the ultimate delivery system, gentle, inevitable, and utterly persuasive. The poppies soften the ground, the wings bring the quiet, and the horn delivers the final, weightless push. Together, they aren't just symbols. They're the sensory toolkit of surrender. You weren't conquered by sleep. You were meticulously, beautifully, seduced by it. That drowsy peace wrapping around you like Hypnos' own wings? It's a temporary mercy, because outside his poppy-strewn cave, a chill threads through the velvet dark, a whisper of finality only you sense. Hypnos stirs, not with alarm, but the quiet resolve of a doctor checking his watch. He rises from the cloud stuff, his horn gleaming faintly, and moves toward the cave entrance. You follow, not walking, but drifting, pulled by the gravity of what comes next. There, framed against the starless expanse, stands his twin, Thanatos. If Hypnos is a weighted blanket, Thanatos is polished marble left in high altitude, cold, sleek, beautiful, utterly still. His wings aren't soft twilight. They're the sharp, angular wings of a steppe eagle, feathers like obsidian shards. No menace radiates from him, just absolute cessation. Mainstream Homeric fact: in the Iliad, they work in tandem over Sarpedon's corpse, sleep and death as divine undertakers, lifting the fallen hero from Trojan soil. Quirky tidbit: a fragment from a lost Corinthian hymn claims the twins played knucklebones with mortal lifespans using dice carved from petrified Lethe water. Historians still argue whether Thanatos was ever worshipped directly or only feared as an abstract force. Graffiti in Pompeii's back alleys suggests both. Watch them now. No words pass between them. Hypnos lifts his horn, not to pour sleep dust, but to listen. The curved end presses against the cave wall like a stethoscope against the cosmos. He nods. Somewhere, a weary soul has reached its breaking point. A sailor succumbing to fever dreams. A grandmother sighing over her final spindle thread. Hypnos moves first, wings unfurling with a soft whoosh of displaced silence. You're swept along in his wake. One moment, the cave's poppies. The next, the cramped, smoky interior of a fisherman's hut by the Aegean. The air reeks of brine, sweat, and time burning on a brazier. On a pallet, an old man shivers. Hypnos drifts to his side, horn tilted. A single drop of liquid darkness falls onto the fisherman's brow. Instantly, the shivering ceases. The man's face softens, his breath deepening into the rhythm of untroubled sleep. It's not death, it's the perfect prelude. Hypnos smooths the man's threadbare blanket with spectral fingers. Anesthesia of the soul, Homer might have called it. Then, the temperature drops. Frost patterns bloom on a water jug. Thanatos materializes at the hut's threshold, not entering, not yet. His presence is a held breath. Hypnos steps back, giving his twin space. There's no sorrow in this dance, only terrible, beautiful efficiency. Thanatos extends one hand. His touch isn't violent. It's the cessation of a metronome. The fisherman's chest stills. No gasp, no struggle. Just quiet. Hypnos watches, his poppy garland gleaming softly. In this moment, they are two sides of a single coin. Release and rest, the period at the end of life sentence. Mainstream art on Attic lekythoi, funeral vases, often shows them together like this. Brothers in black and deeper black. Quirky fringe scroll. A disputed Eleusinian text claims Hypnos collected the last dream of the dying, a final, fading echo stored in his horn like dream honey. Historians still argue whether their partnership represented Greek acceptance of mortality or just really good cosmic HR management. Back in the cave, Hypnos dips his horn's tip into the Lethe's dark waters, cleansing it. Thanatos lingers near the entrance, frost melting from his wings into the warm hush. They don't speak. They don't need to. You notice the subtle differences now. Hypnos' realm smells of earth and poppies. Thanatos carries the scent of extinguished candlewicks and dry parchment. One offers respite, the other resolution. Yet both are children of eternal night, bound by the oldest of rhythms. Think of them as the ultimate tag team. Hypnos tucks you in, dims the lights, whispers almost over. Thanatos simply turns out the lamp. There's comfort in their coordination. No messy transitions, no unfinished business. Just a soft click of existence's off switch, polished smooth by eons of practice. You feel no fear watching them, only the profound relief of inevitability, like sinking into a warm bath after a very long, very tiring day. The universe's most reliable double act. The hush of the cave feels deeper now, thick with unspoken histories. Hypnos drifts toward his cloud bed, horn cradled like a sacred relic. But then a ripple, not in the air, but in the fabric of his quiet. You feel it too, a distant, metallic screeching, the groan of siege engines, the phantom scent of blood-soaked earth. Troy, the war drums thud like a migraine behind your eyes. Hypnos stills, his poppy garland wilting slightly. He knows that signature divine tantrum brewing, Hera's fury, sharp as shattered obsidian. Mainstream Homeric fact, Iliad Book 14 drops the bombshell. Hera once blackmailed Hypnos to KO Zeus himself. Quirky tidbit, a papyrus scrap from Oxyrhynchus claims Hera practiced her persuasive smile in a polished shield for 3 days first. Historians still argue whether Zeus genuinely slept or just pretended to let Hera feel clever. Olympic marriage therapy at its finest. You're yanked from the cave's hush onto the sun-scorched slopes of Mount Ida. Below, Troy burns. Above, Zeus sprawls on a golden couch, gaze locked on the battlefield like it's primetime drama. His beard crackles with suppressed lightning. Hera materializes beside Hypnos, not in the cave, but here, smelling like heated amber and pure spite. That, she hisses, nodding at Zeus. Needs a nap. A deep one. Hypnos actually flinches, wings rustling like nervous leaves. He remembers the last time he drugged the Thunderer, when Zeus woke and discovered Hypnos had helped Hera sabotage his favorite demigod, Heracles, mid-voyage. He hurled Hypnos straight out of Olympus. The god of sleep spent a century tangled in a crab-apple tree in Thessaly. Homer's version is diplomatic. Fringe Cypriot graffiti shows him sprouting leaves. Throw him again? Hard pass. Hypnos murmurs, eyeing Zeus's bicep. Hera smirks. She doesn't offer gold or land. She whispers one word, Charis. Ah, the grace. Not just any goddess. Pasithea, youngest of the Charites, embodiment of shimmering, hypnotic relaxation. Hypnos' longtime crush. Hera dangles her like a cosmic carrot. Do this, Hera purrs, and she's yours. Throne veil, divine marriage license. I'll even throw in a lifetime supply of poppy seed ambrosia. Mainstream myth confirms the bribe. Quirky Orphic fragment adds that Pasithea had woven Hypnos a dream cloak centuries prior, but Zeus confiscated it. Historians still argue whether Hera could actually promise such a union or if Hypnos was just that lovesick. Scrolls show doodles of winged hearts and margins. Hypnos hesitates, looks at Zeus, now roaring at Ares to stab better. Looks at Hera's shark smile, sighs. The things we do for love and not getting hurled into our boreal timeout. Transformation time. Hypnos melts. Not dramatically, more like candle wax pooling, then reforming. His wings shrink, darken, become the sleek, silent feathers of a mountain nightjar. His horn, a single dewdrop clinging to a beak. Poppies dissolve into dapple brown plumage. He's camouflage incarnate. You cling to a cypress branch, metaphorically, as he flits toward Zeus's couch. Zeus is distracted, bellowing at Poseidon's dolphins for unsanctioned splashing. Hypnos alongside Nightjar perches on Zeus's headrest. Bold move. The air crackles with ozone. One twitch, and it's lightning rod city. Hypnos raises a tiny claw. A single, glistening bead of pure lethe water mixed with poppy resin gathers at its tip. Not a sprinkle, a precision drop. It lands on Zeus's temple, just where divine stress wrinkles form. Instant effect. Zeus's next shout, Agamemnon, you incompetent walnut, dissolves into a gargled yawn. His lightning fizzles out like a wet fuse. Eyes flutter. Head lolls. A thunderous snore rips through Ida, scattering eagles. He slides off the couch, landing face first in a patch of time, with all the grace of a felled oak. Hera grins, sharp enough to cut starlight. "Attaboy, Sandman," she whispers, vanishing toward the battlefield to unleash chaos. Hypnos, back in god form, stares at the snoring lump of supreme power. He doesn't gloat, just plucks a stray eagle feather from Zeus's hair, tucks it behind his ear like a trophy, and vanishes. Pasithea better appreciate this. Down in Troy, men keep dying, but for one brief, absurdly quiet moment on Mount Ida, the only war is between Zeus and a particularly vivid dream involving dancing thunderbolts in fluffy slippers. Sweet, oblivious victory. The silence of the cave feels sweeter after Mount Ida's divine tantrum. You're back, sinking into the poppies, the Lethe's murmur washing away the phantom echoes of Zeus's snoring. Hypnos floats near his cloud bed, but he's restless. That eagle feather tucked behind his ear, it itches. He keeps glancing toward the cave entrance, not for Thanatos, but with the nervous energy of someone waiting for a cosmic Uber. Mainstream Homeric fact? Hera did pay up eventually, but Olympian promises are slippery things, coated in ambrosia and fine print. Quirky tidbit, a fragmentary Boeotian hymn claims Pasithea arrived for her wedding carrying a pillow stuffed with moonbeams and spider silk, Hypnos' ideal gift. Historians still argue whether Hera delivered Pasithea immediately or made Hypnos fill out endless divine paperwork in triplicate first, the administrative horror of eternity. Then the air shimmers, not with threat, but with radiant, drowsy beauty. Pasithea steps into the cave. Forget Aphrodite's blinding glamour. This is beauty softened by twilight. Her gown seems woven from the last mauve streaks of sunset. Her hair a cascade of shadows shot through with silver dust, like starlight filtered through deep water. She carries the scent of chamomile fields at dusk. Hypnos actually fumbles his horn. A soft clink echoes, startlingly loud in the hush. Pasithea smiles, and it's the visual equivalent of a weighted blanket settling over your shoulders. "Took you long enough, sleep-bringer," she murmurs, her voice like honey dissolving in warm milk. Mainstream Hesiod lists her among the younger graces. Quirky gossip from a ruined temple near Corinth suggests she once made Ares yawn mid-battle just by humming, a feat even Hypnos envied. Hera's bribe wasn't just Pasithea. Remember the throne? It materializes now, not gold, but carved from petrified Lethe driftwood, polished to a deep, water-smooth sheen. Its cushions, Hypnos' own carded cloud stuff, now permanently plumped and infused with Pasithia's chamomile scent. It hovers gently near the back of the cave, radiating calm. Hera's note, etched onto a single poppy petal, flutters down. Payment rendered. Don't spend it all in one eternity. Historians still argue whether this throne gave Hypnos new status among the gods or just became his favorite napping spot. Depictions on later vases are inconclusive. But Hera, being Hera, wasn't done. The dust hadn't even settled on Troy's ashes again, when that familiar scent of heated amber and fury prickled the cave's poppy-scented air. Hypnos groaned, sinking deeper into his throne. Pasithea laid a soothing hand on his arm. Again, Hypnos whispered, "Zeus is favoring the Trojans this week," Hera hissed, materializing like a storm cloud in a library. "He needs another timeout." Hypnos clutched Pasithea's hand. "Last time I ended up arboreal." He hurls. Hera's smile was all teeth. "Ah, but darling, this time." She snapped her fingers. Two lesser Oceanid nymphs stumbled in, staggering under the weight of a massive amphora. It sloshed. The scent hit you first. Thick, resinous, impossibly sweet. Apobalsamum, the rarest, most luxurious perfume in the ancient world, worth kingdoms. Mainstream myth doesn't record a second drugging. Quirky accounts from Roman-era mythographers claim Hera resorted to bribery twice. "A lifetime supply," Hera purred, "for your atmospheric enhancements." She gestured vaguely at the cave. Pasithea raised an eyebrow. Hypnos looked at the amphora, then at Pasithea's serene face, then back at the amphora. "Fine," he muttered, "but this is the absolute last time. And I want it in writing, on something non-flammable." The second trip to Ida felt less like a daring mission and more like a tedious commute. Zeus was predictably thunderous, ranting about Trojan battle luck. Hypnos, disguised as a particularly bored-looking cumulus, cloud this time, drifted overhead. The precision drop was smoother now practiced. Zeus's rant about Apollo's meddling archery dissolved into a gurgle, then a snore that reportedly flattened a shepherd's hut 3 valleys over. Hera vanished with a satisfied smirk. Hypnos collected another trophy feather, this one singed at the tip, and zoomed back to his cave. Pasithea was decanting the apobalsamum into tiny crystal vials. "Successful?" she asked, not looking up. "He's snoozing." Hypnos sighed, dropping the feather into a growing pile. Hera got away. Again, Pasithea held up a vial. The perfume inside glowed with soft, golden light. "Then let's make the cave smell divine while he's out." She uncorked it. A scent like ancient forests, sun-warmed resins, and deep, honeyed sleep bloomed through the cave, mingling perfectly with the poppies and lethe. The hush felt richer, deeper, more luxurious. Even the cloud-stuffed bed seemed plusher. Hypnos sank onto his throne, the tension easing. Maybe Hera's bribes weren't so bad. At least the ambrosia was top shelf. Pasithea nestled beside him, her presence a balm. "Just promise me," she whispered. "No more dodging lightning bolts for at least a century." Hypnos just hummed, already half gone, soothed by perfume and peace. The price of divine love? Eternal readiness to drug your terrifying father-in-law upon request. Some cosmic bargains are non-negotiable. Past the apobalsamum, the lingering scent of Hera's apobalsamum, like ancient cedar forests dipped in honey, still perfumes the cave air. But Hypnos's gaze drifts away, drawn to something older, quieter. A sigh escapes him, softer than the lethe's murmur. "Mortals dream of immortality," he muses, tracing a finger through the vapors above his throne. "But eternity awake? That's a different kind of torment." His eyes settle on a faint shimmer in the cave wall, a vision unfolding like smoke. Mount Latmos under a fat, silver moon. You feel cool grass beneath you, smell wild thyme and damp stone. Mainstream myth? Apollodorus tells this tale. Endymion, a shepherd whose beauty could silence crickets. Not warrior strong, but serenely perfect, like moonlight carved into flesh. Quirky tidbit? A scrap from a lesbian poet claims his sheep grew wool dyed indigo from grazing on twilight. Historians still argue whether he was a prince, a shepherd, or just a very pretty metaphor. Rural gossip fossilized into legend. There he is. Endymion lies sprawled on a mossy ledge, one arm flung back, curls dark against pale rock. He isn't merely sleeping. He's suspended, breath so slow lichens could grow between exhales. Above him, the night sky parts. Selene, the moon herself, descends. Forget Artemis's chilly huntress vibe. Selene moves with liquid gravity, her chariot discarded somewhere beyond the stars. Her dress isn't fabric, it's condensed moon glow, dripping silver onto the grass. She kneels beside Endymion, her touch cool as a shadow at midnight, a face even Narcissus would ditch his pond for. Hypnos murmurs beside you, a hint of divine envy in his voice. Quirky French scroll, a disputed Delphic fragment, suggests Selene paid Hecate in owl feathers for a beauty preservation spell. Historians still argue whether Selene visited him nightly or just left him running on celestial standby. Here's the twist. Selene didn't just admire him. She begged Zeus, not for shared immortality, but for Endymion's ageless sleep. Why? Mainstream Pausanias says she wanted him perfect forever. No wrinkles, no gray hairs, just eternal, breathless beauty. But Hypnos shakes his head, a poppy petal drifting from his hair. Zeus owed her a favor. The moon pulls tides. It also pulls divine IOUs. The solution? Not death, not godhood. Endless, dreamless slumber. Hypnos dips his horn, not to administer sleep, but to preserve it. A single drop, thicker than lethe water, glistening like quicksilver, falls onto Endymion's brow. Instantly, the shepherd's already slow breath deepens into something geologic. Selene smiles, moonlight pooling in the hollow of his throat. Is it kindness? Hypnos wonders aloud. Or the ultimate selfishness? Historians still argue whether Endymion's fate was a romantic gift or a cosmic taxidermy project. Love stuffed and mounted under glass. Now the cruel irony. Endymion dreams, but not of moonlit meadows or Selene's cool hands. His mind drifts in a gray, featureless fog. No stories, no memories, just the faint, distant bleating of phantom sheep. Mainstream myth is silent on his inner world. Quirky Orphic hymns claim Hypnos gifted him one repeating dream, the sensation of cool grass against his cheek, over and over, like a skipped record. Is it peace? Or purgatory? You shift on your own, hopefully temporary, sleeping surface, suddenly grateful for the promise of morning. Hypnos watches Selene comb Endymion's hair with spectral fingers. Beauty frozen is beauty dead, he whispers. At least mortals get wrinkles. They earn them. Quirky tidbit, locals near Latmos swore they heard Endymion sigh on windless nights, a sound like a locked door creaking open in an empty house. So, blessing or curse, Endymion got eternal youth. But he lost dawn's warmth, the ache of tired muscles after hurting, the taste of stolen figs. He's a statue wrapped in velvet night, adored but alone. Selene gets her living doll, pristine and unchanging. But does she miss the flutter of his waking eyelashes? The shared silence of two beings under the stars? Hypnos turns away from the vision. The heaviest chains, he murmurs, are woven from moonlight and good intentions. You feel it now, the subtle gift of your own temporary rest, the promise that sleep will end, that dreams, vivid, chaotic, alive, will scatter like startled birds at dawn. Endymion's curse is the absence of that promise. His eternity isn't life. It's a beautifully preserved pause button. Sweet, or the loneliest sentence the cosmos ever imposed. The cave's hush deepens, heavy with the unanswerable question. Selene's silver tears, if she sheds them, evaporate long before they hit the moss. That lingering melancholy from Endymion's moonlit prison fades as a new vibration thrums through the cave floor, deeper than the lethe's murmur, resonant as a plucked harp string. It pulses from Hypnos's horn, held aloft, not to induce sleep, but to shape it, The still pool near his throne ripples, not with water, but with swirling obsidian liquid shot through with iridescent streaks. Dream stuff, primordial and unformed. Mainstream Homeric fact: the Iliad names the Oneiroi dreams as Hypnos' children, bursting forth to mold mortal minds. Quirky tidbit: a charred Ephesian scroll claimed they were brewed in the horn like celestial kombucha. Historians still argue whether they were literal offspring or psychic emanations, divine subcontractors of the subconscious. From the shimmering pool, three distinct figures coalesce. First, Morpheus. He rises like smoke given purpose, his form fluid. One moment a bearded elder, the next a youth, then a morning woman. His skin shimmers with the colors of a storm-lit dusk. He is the master of forms, the weaver of human shapes and familiar faces in dreams. Mainstream Ovidian lore celebrates his skill. Quirky graffiti in a Pompeii tavern shows him knitting a nightmare sweater. He dips a hand into the dream pool, pulling forth a strand of silvery liquid. It solidifies instantly into the exact likeness of your childhood neighbor. Every wrinkle, every stray eyebrow hair. Morpheus examines it critically, tweaks the nose, then releases it. The figure dissolves back into the pool, ready to be deployed into some unsuspecting sleeper's mind. He does good work, Hypnos murmurs, though he overuses stooped postmen and disapproving ants. Next emerges Phobter, or Icelus, depending on which dusty scroll you trust. He's less formed, more a shifting mass of shadow and claw, feather and foam. Lion jaws snap within his chest. Serpent tails lash from his shoulders. Owl wings furl and unfurl. He is the shaper of nightmares, the conjurer of beasts and monsters. Quirky tidbit: a dubious Thessalian curse tablet claims he moonlighted as a haunted topiary in Macedonian gardens. He plunges both arms into the pool, churning the dark liquid into a froth. Out leaps a three-headed hound dripping liquid fear, followed by a swarm of skeletal wasps. Phobter chuckles, a sound like stones grinding in a deep well. Historians still argue whether his creatures reflected primal human fears, or were just divine doodles gone rogue, the scholarly equivalent of arguing about a bad trip. Finally, Phantasos bubbles up, not a figure, but a kaleidoscope of light, stone, and impossible architecture. He is the maker of surreal things. Where Morpheus crafts faces and Phobter spawns teeth, Phantasos builds dream logic. Rivers flowing uphill, cities made of glass tears, trees bearing clocks instead of fruit. He flicks droplets from his fingertips. One becomes a floating marble staircase leading nowhere. Another, a whispering forest of crystal reeds. Mainstream myth gives him less press. Quirky fragments from Alexandria's lost library say he invented sentient cheese for a philosopher's dream. Historians still argue whether Phantasos inspired real surrealist art or just confused a lot of hungover Babylonians. Watch them work. Morpheus, meticulous, sculpts a dying king's final vision of his lost queen. Every eyelash perfect, the scent of her rose oil lingering. Phobter, gleeful, crafts a sailor's recurring dream of drowning in a sea of giant, carnivorous barnacles. Phantasos, whimsical, builds a marketplace where emotions are sold in colored bottles beside a river of liquid starlight. The dream stuff flows from Hypnos' horn in an endless stream, colored by the cave's twilight, scented faintly of Hera's apobalsamum and the Lethe's forgetfulness. The Oneiroi dip, mold, and release their creations into faint, shimmering portals that wink open in the cave air, each leading to a mortal sleeper's waiting mind. Hypnos observes, not directing, merely enabling. Mortals think dreams are their own, he sighs, watching Phantasos construct a castle from melting snow. But the canvas, the raw stuff, that's ours. They just provide the anxieties, the wishes, the leftover bits of celery from dinner. Quirky anatomical belief: a papyrus from Memphis claims the liver was the dream reception organ, hence priests reading sheep livers for prophecy. Bad reception meant fuzzy nightmares. The Oneiroi work tirelessly, silently. Morpheus crafts comfort for a homesick soldier. Folker torments a cheating merchant. Fantasos gifts a poet with a symphony played by clouds. Each dream, once formed, drifts like a soap bubble toward its portal, pulsing with inner light or shadow. You feel the faint echo of them, the warmth of a longed-for embrace, the icy grip of unseen claws, the dizzying lurch of impossible physics, rippling through the cave's charged air. It's a factory of the subconscious, humming with quiet industry, and as a tiny bubble, shimmering with the image of a key turning in a lock you can't quite place, floats gently toward your own forehead, Hypnos offers the ultimate reassurance. Don't worry, Fogder's off duty tonight. Probably. The horn's vibration deepens, resonating in your bones. Your own eyelids grow heavier, ready to receive whatever the Dreamweavers send. The shimmering dream bubbles fade as Hypnos lowers his horn. The cave's twilight softens, the Lethe's murmur swelling to fill the silence. Mortals, he sighs, shaking a stray nightmare tendril, courtesy of Fogder, off his wingtip, always trying to hack sleep, as if rest were a lock to be picked. You feel the weight of centuries pressing in, not with dread, but the gentle insistence of 1,000 desperate attempts to court slumber. Mainstream fact, the Greeks pioneered sleep hygiene centuries before white noise machines. They stuffed pillows with dried lavender, rose petals, and lettuce leaves, nature's original melatonin boosters. Quirky tidbit, a papyrus from Oxyrhynchus prescribes stuffing your pillowcase with the left ear of a Libyan ass for prophetic dreams. Historians still argue whether this was literal advice or ancient trolling, a debate fueled by the distinct lack of one-eared donkeys in archaeological digs. Now shift the scene. You're no longer in the cave, but in a dim Athenian bedroom, circa 400 BC. Will curtains block the moon? A clay oil lamp gutters, casting jumping shadows. Your host, Ariston, a potter with shoulders knotted from the wheel, needs his lumpy pillow. It smells faintly of barnyard and bergamot. Stupid oracle, he mutters. Said I'd dream of winning the Panathenaic Amphora contest. All I got was a nightmare about my mother-in-law juggling scorpions. He flips the pillow, dislodging a dried salamander tail, allegedly for creativity. Hypnos watches from the shadows, amused. Lettuce, solid choice. Ass ears, desperate. Modern asides right themselves. Imagine your weighted blanket filled with kale and conspiracy theories. But the real sleep innovation wasn't in homes. It was in healing sanctuaries. Zoom to Epidaurus, dawn light gilding the temple columns of Asclepius, god of medicine. Pilgrims limp past sacred snakes coiled in sunbeams. They've come not to pray, but to sleep, specifically, to undergo incubation. Mainstream Pausanias details the ritual. Purification in icy springs, sacrifices of honey cakes, then a night spent in the Abaton, the temple's inner sleeping hall. Stone couches line the walls, cold as a tomb's embrace. You lie beside a feverish boy, his mother humming a lullaby. The air reeks of Kiffy incense, cinnamon, juniper, myrrh, a divine aromatherapy blend. Ambient sounds. Hypnos murmurs. Try priestly chants, distant goat bells, and the gurgle of sacred spring water. 5 stars for atmosphere. The goal, a healing dream. Asclepius, or his sacred snake, would slither into your sleep, diagnose your ailment, and prescribe a cure. Quirky recorded cure? A blind man dreamed the god spat in his eyes. He woke seeing. Another, with a spearhead festering in his thigh, dreamed a dog licked the wound clean. Reality check. Temple priests likely doubled as ancient sleep therapists, interpreting dreams over breakfast figs. Dream of a snake? Apply lizard salve. Dream of a dancing fig? Eat more fiber. Hypnos deadpans. Historians still argue whether the sacred snakes were drugged with opium milk or just really chill reptiles. Herpetologists versus classicists in a cage match for the ages. Back in Ariston's Athenian bedroom, dawn approaches. His assier pillow lies discarded. In Epidaurus, the feverish boy wakes, blinking. Mama, the snake, it tickled. His forehead's cool. Placebo? Divine intervention? Hypnos shrugs, wings rustling like dried reeds. Does it matter? Sleep lowered his fever. My realm did the rest. Contrast sharpens. The home remedies, chaotic, superstitious, smelling of desperation and dried amphibians, versus the temple's orchestrated serenity. Incubation was ancient sleep clinic meets dream-driven urgent care. A final twist? Some incubants sought prophecies, not cures. At the oracle of Trophonius, you descend into a pitch-black chasm. Drink from twin springs, forgetfulness and memory, Greek multitasking. Then lie in the earth's belly as visions assaulted you. Emerging traumatized, priests would sit you on a chair of Mnemosyne memory to piece together your nightmare insights. Quirky account. Plutarch tells of a man who emerged convinced he'd seen Atlantis and that badgers controlled the grain supply. Rookie mistake. Hypnos tuts. Never drink forgetfulness before memory. It's like eating dessert before liver. Historians still argue whether these oracles used hallucinogenic gases or just really persuasive darkness. As dawn bleeds into the cave, Hypnos dips his horn in the Lethe. Mortals grasp one truth. Sleep isn't empty. It's a workshop, a pharmacy, a conference room with gods. He nods at the fading vision of Epidaurus. Pillows stuffed with desperation, temples built on faith, same goal, to borrow my cloak for a few precious hours. You feel the weight of your own eyelids. No salamander tails required. The hush deepens. Even the Oniroid pause their weaving. After all, the best sleep science? Surrendering to the inevitable. Past the lettuce, the lingering scent of Kiffy incense fades as Hypnos drifts toward the cave wall, where twilight condenses into shapes, not dreams, but flickering images of pottery. A red figure Kylix materializes, spinning lazily. Ah, Hypnos sighs, tapping the floating cup. My fan art, or lack thereof. You peer closer. The painted figure has his wings, his poppy garland, but also Hermes' caduceus and a cheeky grin. That's me. Hypnos raises an eyebrow. Or is it Hermes cosplaying as a nap? Mortal artists bless their confused little chitons. Mainstream fact. Surviving vases show Hypnos in less than 0.5% of Greek art. Rarer than a sober Dionysus festival. Quirky tidbit. A shattered lekythos from Apulia depicts him with Eros' bow, aiming sleep arrows while standing on a giant snail. Historians still argue whether this was artistic shorthand, regional ignorance, or just a painter who really hated deadlines. Now zoom into a 5th century BCE Athenian workshop. Dust motes dance in sunbeams. Cleon, the potter, squints at a sketch of Hypnos. Wings. Check. Sleepy vibe. Check. His apprentice, Lysias, frowns. But master, what if people think he's Eros? Both have wings. Both make you lie down. Cleon waves a clay-smeared hand. Slap a poppy in his hair, and give him a grumpy face. Eros smiles too much. The resulting vase shows Hypnos glowering, clutching poppies, with Hermes' winged sandals. Sandals. Hypnos groans from the cave. I drift. I don't commute. Modern equivalent. Printing Einstein riding a T-Rex on a physics textbook. Why the mix-ups? Mainstream scholarship blames iconographic overlap. Eros, love, and Hypnos, sleep, both brought sweet surrender. Hermes, travel, and Hypnos, dream journeys, both guided souls. Quirky exception, a perfectly preserved Corinthian Araballos, perfume jar, shows Hypnos clearly, wings furled, horn dribbling dust, labeled in neat script, Pino-Omicron. My one good angle, Hypnos preens, found near a temple of Asclepius. Coincidence? Probably not. Historians still argue whether clearer images existed in lost temple frescoes, or if Hypnos was doomed to eternal artistic anonymity, the zealous celebrity of Olympus. Enter the Roman copyists. Centuries later, Hypnos watches a Pompeian fresco materialize, a chubby, winged Puto snoring on a cloud. They renamed me Somnus, he mutters, then downgraded me to a cherub with sleep apnea. The Romans stripped his mystique. No poppies, no horn, just chubby cheeks and a yawn. Even his twin bond with Thanatos got blurred. Roman Moors, death, often flew solo. Quirky rebellion, a mosaic in Ostia Antica sneaks in a poppy tucked behind Somnus's ear, like a divine inside joke. See, Hypnos nudges you. One artist paid attention. The ultimate indignity, Renaissance artists rediscovering Greek myths via Roman knockoffs. A vision floats by. Michelangelo's early sketch of Hypnos as a muscular, winged man, inspired, beholding Mercury's staff. Sigh, Hypnos breathes. Then Caravaggio's Lost Hypnos painting, described in a patron's letter, shadowed youth. Poppies crushed in hand, but with Cupid's quiver at his hip. Hypnos face palms. I don't shoot sleep, I drizzle it. Subtle difference. Quirky modern echo. A 1960s comic book cast Hypnos as a villain in Hermes' boots, stealing dreams with a golden net. At least they gave me net flair. Hypnos concedes. As the cave wall's gallery fades, Hypnos plucks a floating poppy petal. Artists fear the vague. He muses. Love. Solid. Death. Sharp edges. But sleep. He blows the petal into the dark. It's the mist between moments. Hard to paint mist. You glance at a final image. A child's crude clay tablet from Pilus, showing a stick figure with wings, lying beside a squiggle labeled ZZ. In linear B. Hypnos smiles. Now that. Accurate. The wall dims. Only the Lethe's murmur fills the silence. No wings, no horns, no mix-ups. Just the quiet truth. Sleep needs no decoration. It simply is. The cave wall's artistic parade dissolves into swirling mist, replaced by something deeper, whispers. Not dream whispers, but human voices chanting in low unison, echoing as if through stone corridors. Ah, Hypnos murmurs, leaning closer. The devoted, or the drowsy. You catch fragmented words. Hypnia, Nepenthes Kikian. The air thickens with the scent of fermenting honey and damp earth. Mainstream fact. Public temples to Hypnos were vanishingly rare. One possible shrine near Sparta mentioned by Pausanias, now lost to olive groves and sheep. Quirky tidbit. A defaced boundary stone near Thebes reads, no snoring beyond this point. Sacred to H.S. Historians still argue whether it marked a sleep sanctuary or just a grumpy neighbor's property line. Now descend. You're in a low, torchlit crypt beneath a nondescript hillside near Eleusis. Not the famous Demeter mysteries. This is smaller, darker, smelling of wet rock and poppy resin. 12 figures in plain gray chitons kneel on rush mats. Their leader, Melina, grinds dried poppy heads in a bronze mortar. We invoke the gentle touch. She chants. Not the ecstasy of Dionysus, not the terror of Hecate, the soft descent. A clay bowl of dark wine sits before her. She sprinkles in the milky sap. Opium, raw opium. The original nightcap, Hypnos observes. Though mortals rarely measure wisely. This is the fringe theory. Secret Hypnia writes. No grand temples, just hidden cellars or forest clearings where the desperate, the insomniac, or the mystically inclined sought communion. Mainstream archaeology shrugs. No inscriptions, no votive statues. But whispers persist. Quirky evidence. A 3rd century BCE lead cursed tablet from Thessaly begs Hypnos to bind the eyelids of a noisy blacksmith neighbor, promising 3 jars of sleep wine as payment. Effective. Hypnos tilts his head. The blacksmith slept. Also fell face first into his anvil. Coincidence. The ritual unfolds. Melina stirs the opium wine, Kikian, but not Demeter's wholesome barley brew. This is dark, syrupy, smelling like overripe figs and medicine. Each acolyte drinks a small cup. Almost immediately, shoulders slump, eyes glaze, breathing deepens. Not visions, Hypnos explains. Absence, like sinking into warm mud. They chant, but the words slur, melt together. Lethargo's Hypnos. One man sways, then crumples gently onto his mat. Another giggles at nothing. Melina watches, her own eyes heavy-lidded. The goal wasn't prophecy or frenzy. It was oblivion as sacrament. Historians still argue whether these groups were structured cults or just ancient support groups for the perpetually exhausted, classical-era insomniacs pooling their poppy stash. Contrast the Eleusinian mysteries next door. Thousands seeking rebirth through Demeter's grain. Here, maybe 12 souls seeking temporary non-existence. No sacred drama, no epoptea, ultimate revelation. Just silence punctuated by snores. Quirky ritual detail. A fragmented scroll from Alexandria describes initiates wearing sheepskin socks to muffle the footfalls of wakefulness. Hypnosize. Mortals will ritualize anything, even napping. The dangers? Oh, they knew. An older woman starts choking softly. Too much opium, too fast. Her companions roll her onto her side, wipe spittle from her chin. No panic, just weary competence. Dosing was an art, Hypnos notes. Some sought the cave, others never left. A faint image overlaps, a skeleton in a Thessaly tomb, curled on its side, a clay cup clutched in bony fingers, residue of poppy and wine staining its base. Not murder, misplaced devotion. Mainstream toxicology. Theophrastus wrote of opium's double-edged gift, relief tipping swiftly into the endless sleep. Did they meet Hypnos? In their drug stupor, perhaps. Melina slumps against the crypt wall, smiling faintly. Does she see wings? A horn? Or just the blissful void? Communion with me rarely involves conversation. Hypnos murmurs. More like becoming an echo. As dawn threatens, surviving acolytes rouse, stiff, groggy, mouths cotton dry. They stumble into the gray light, squinting. No divine revelation, just a brutal hangover and the distant sound of a blacksmith's hammer finally silent. Success. Hypnos shrugs. They slept. I collected the offered wine. A fair trade. The crypt vision fades. Only the Lethes murmur remains, a cleaner, colder oblivion. Secrets whispered in wine-drenched crypts, or just desperate people brewing dangerous tea. Hypnos plucks a poppy seed from the air. Does it matter? Sleep came. Sometimes gently, sometimes forever. He crushes the seed. A tiny puff of drowsy dust drifts downward. The only true mystery is why mortals fight it so hard. Past the Nepenthes. The cave sighs, agreeing. Rest needs no password. Just surrender. The cave's opium-scented haze clears, revealing Hypnos perched on his throne, idly flipping a wax writing tablet. One side bears a quote from the Iliad. Hypnos, who chains us all, even Zeus, the other, the Odyssey. Deathless gods never taste sleep. He raises an eyebrow at you. Mortals call this epic. I call it inconsistent shift scheduling. Mainstream fact. Homer's two poems do clash. Hypnos actively drugs Zeus in Iliad Book 14, yet in Odyssey Book 12, Athena insists gods don't sleep. Quirky tidbit. A marginal note in a medieval manuscript blames a drunken scribe for the Odyssey line, adding, obviously never met Aunt Hera's pet Sandman. Rewind to Mount Olympus, circa Trojan War. You're hovering near the nectar fountain as Hypnos, post-tree exile, nervously eyes Zeus's thunderbolt hand. Hera's plotting. Hypnos is her reluctant accomplice. He succeeds. Zeus snores into his ambrosia beard, but when the thunder awakes, Hypnos doesn't stick around for feedback. Iliad 14.249 to 261. He flees like a bird back to Nyx's realm, terrified. Wouldn't you? Hypnos shudders. He has a history with projectile deities. Modern aside, imagine your boss catching you hacking his coffee, then multiplying the wrath by lightning. Fast forward to Odysseus' ship. Athena, all gleaming-eyed wisdom, assures the hero. gods don't sleep like mortals. We're always watching. Odyssey 12.374. Hypnos slaps his tablet down. Tell that to Uncle Zeus drooling on his throne. Or Ares snoring after Aphrodite visits. Quirky ancient fan theory. A papyrus scrap suggests Athena meant gods don't eat sleep, implying they could, but it's gauche, like wearing socks with sandals. Historians still argue whether Homer suffered from divine chronic insomnia or just prioritized dramatic effect over theological rigor. So, contradiction or context. Mainstream scholarship offers fixes. Poetic license. The Odyssey emphasizes divine vigilance for narrative tension. Odysseus needs to feel watched. Hypnos is not equal to sleep. Gods experience rest as lowered alertness, Zeus's nap, not mortal unconsciousness. Us means mortals. When Athena says gods don't sleep, she means like humans, no 8-hour comas. Hypnos scoffs. Mortals overthink. Truth is simpler. Zeus naps. Athena lies. He gestures. A vision of Poseidon sprawled on a coral bed. Seaweed blanket rising and falling, while drowned sailors wail outside. Sea god siestas. Guaranteed. Another. Apollo dozing in a Delphi sunbeam after a long day of oracles. Even prophecies need reboots. The real scandal? Hera's power naps. Hypnos reveals a hidden Olympus terrace. Hera, sans peacock glamour, curled on a silver daybed, mouth slightly open. A faint snore escapes. She'd vaporize me for showing you this, he whispers. But yes, queen of gods, queen of post-argument catnaps. Quirky mosaic evidence. A Roman villa in Pompeii shows Hera napping beside a tiny, winged Hypnos fanning her with a poppy. Caption: R&R before reigniting marital strife. Why the Odyssey denial? Hypnos taps Athena's stern face on the tablet. Pride. Admitting God sleep means admitting vulnerability. And Athena, she runs on insecurity and olive oil. Fringe theory. A Gnostic text claims Homer was Hypnos' half-mortal son, hiding Daddy's job description to protect him from divine HR. Charming. Hypnos yawns. Also absurd. My kids are Oniroi, not poets. Less drama. As dawn tints the cave, the paradox dissolves like dream mist. Gods sleep, just rarely, lightly, and never advertised. Mortal sleep is a biological imperative. Divine sleep is a luxury, a secret indulgence. Hypnos' final word? Next time you read Gods Never Sleep, picture Zeus's thunderous snore shaking the stars. Then wink. Some truths are too cozy for epic poetry. The tablet vanishes. Only the Lethe's murmur fills the silence, and the faint, imagined sound of a thunderbolt-shaped pillow being fluffed. The cave's twilight thickens, smelling suddenly of wet wool and cold marble. Hypnos shudders, wings rustling like crumpled parchment. Brace yourself, he murmurs. Things are about to get efficient. A gust of wind tears through the poppies, scattering petals that harden midair into geometric tiles. The Lethe's murmur sharpens into the rhythmic clank of legionary sandals on cobblestones. You're no longer floating in timeless hush, but marching down the Via Appia at midnight, breath fogging in the frigid air. Mainstream fact: Romans rebranded Hypnos as Somnus, same domain, stripped of mystery. Quirky tidbit: a Pompeian graffiti reads, Somnus equals Hypnos minus the fun tax. Historians still argue whether this shift reflected cultural pragmatism or just really bad poetry translators. Feel the change. Hypnos' soft wings now feel clipped, armored like a Praetorian shoulder guards. His horn, replaced by a bronze clepsydra, water clock, dripping not dream dust, but regimented minutes. Bedtime is 2100 hours. A centurion's ghost barks. Deviation punished by extra latrine duty. No poppy-strewn caves here. Somnus operates from a sparse tablinum study in the divine bureaucracy. Scrolls labeled sleep quotas and dream approvals pile high. His twin, Thanatos, now moors sharp and solitary. no longer sharing shifts in fishermen's huts. Romans compartmentalized. Hypnos size. Death works days. Sleep works nights. No fraternizing. Witness the de-whimsification. That beautiful, surreal dream pool, drained and repurposed as a public bath plunge pool. The Oneiroi, retrained as imperial message runners. Morpheus now delivers military dispatches in boringly literal forms. Senatorius dreamt of grain prices, confirmed accurate. Fogler's nightmares, standardized into tax audit anxieties and chariot collision replays. Quirky legal note, the 12 tables included a fine for nocturnal disturbance of Somnus' schedule. Your neighbor's snoring could land him in stocks. No more Fantasos building cheese cities. Hypnos laments. Just dreams of efficient aqueduct maintenance. Even the Zeus-napping incident gets a Roman makeover. A fresco materializes, Somnus, now a stern, toga-clad functionary, officially drugging Jupiter with a stamped scroll, nap order, signed Hera, notarized by Vestals. No daring nightjar disguise, just paperwork triplicate in triplicate. They turned my greatest heist into a departmental memo. Hypnos groans. Mainstream Virgil reference. Aeneid 5.838 to 841 has Somnus impersonating a sailor to lull Palinurus. But even then, he's gruff, transactional. No poppies, no horn dribble. Just a shove off the boat. Subtlety died with the Republic. Hypnos mutters. The ultimate indignity? Cult worship. Forget secret opium rites. Public shrines to Somnus were drab, practical affairs. Often just alcoves and temples to Disciplina, goddess of discipline, or Salus, health. Offerings, not poppy wine, but wool socks and eye masks. One votive plaque reads, Somnus, grant 8 hours, uninterrupted, Legio 9, Britannia. Quirky artifact, a brass sleep token found near Hadrian's wall. One side stamped Somnus approves, the other, wake at dawn or else. Historians still argue whether Romans saw sleep as a biological necessity or a military resource, like salted pork or sturdy sandals. Hypnos picks up a petrified poppy, now just a gray lump. They kept the function, he concedes. Sleep still came, but the joy, the weirdness. He gestures at a vision of a Roman insomniac counting sheep on a wax tablet literally. Ovis I, Ovis II, under Somnus's unsmiling gaze. Efficient, soulless, very Roman. Even his marriage suffered. Pasithea, retconned as Clementia mercy, a virtue, not a goddess. Date nights became budget meetings. Hypnos whispers. As the tablinum fades, the cave's soft hush returns like a sigh. The geometric tiles soften back into poppies. They needed a god who matched their roads. Hypnos muses. Straight, predictable, leading somewhere useful. He unfurls his wings, fully feathered again, no armor in sight. But sleep isn't a road. It's a detour through lavender fields. The Lethe's murmur swells, washing away the last echoes of marching sandals. One fluffy cloud-stuffed pillow drifts by, defiantly impractical. Hypnos sinks onto it. Past the unregulated poppy wine, he murmurs. I need to forget fiscal quarters. The water clock melts into his horn. Order restored. For now, the chill of Rome's marble efficiency melts away, replaced by a new scent, gunpowder and antiseptic. Hypnos drifts beside a field of blood-red poppies, swaying under a hazy 19th century sun. Not his sacred blooms, but Papaver somniferum planted in neat, oppressive rows stretching to the horizon. Mortals, he murmurs, plucking a pod leaking milky sap. Take a gift twisted into chains. Mainstream history, the Opium Wars ravaged China as Britain forced addiction for tea and silver. Quirky footnote, a British merchant's diary lamented opium's infernal drowsiness, slowing port workers. Hypnos's irony unintended. Historians still argue whether addiction was understood as biological or moral failure when poppy fields funded empires. Now shift. You're in a Victorian apothecary. Glass bottles gleam. Laudanum for nerves, hysteria, and quiet infants. A hollow-eyed woman buys a vial, hands shaking. Mother's little helper. Hypnos whispers, "My horned shadow in a bottle." But then, Freud's study, Vienna. Cigar smoke hangs thick as a patient recounts a dream of winged serpents and melting keys. Hypnos peers over Freud's shoulder. He calls it the subconscious. Cute. I call it Tuesday. Quirky collision. Freud's first draft of the interpretation of dreams referenced Hypnos's workshop, edited out for scientific rigor. A starker transition. EEG monitors beep in a 1950s sleep lab. Wires snake from a dozing man's skull. Behold, Hypnos intones, where mortals dissect my cloak. REM sleep flickers on the graph. Rapid eye movements like tiny wings. Delta waves roll slow and deep as the Lethe. Mainstream science credits Eugene Aserinsky for REM discovery. Quirky truth. His lab notes describe phantasos like squiggles beside the data. They map the river. Hypnos concedes, but not the source. The real revolution? Neurochemistry. A vision of hypocretin neurons firing or misfiring in a narcoleptic brain. GABA receptors drenched in pharmaceuticals mimicking poppy resin. They seek my horn and molecules. Hypnos muses. Adorable. Quirky modern ritual. Insomniacs swallowing melatonin while scrolling. Sleep hygiene blogs. Digital Kiffy incense. Historians and neuroscientists still argue whether consciousness emerges from brain chemistry or interacts with it. A debate Hypnos finds like dissecting a dream with a hammer. Yet mysteries endure. Why do we dream at all? Hypnos gestures to a lab rat darting eyes in sleep. Even rodents review their mazes. Sleep paralysis. Folter's old prank, now with medical billing codes. The circadian rhythm. Mortals finally noticed the sundial inside them. But the deepest question looms. What is sleep for? Memory consolidation? Hypnos shrugs. Try defragging the soul's hard drive. A final callback. Zeus's thunderous snore echoes, merging with the hum of a CPAP machine in a dark bedroom. Some things transcend eras. Hypnos floats over a 21st century city, a constellation of glowing screens mimicking stars. Below, millions fight his embrace with caffeine and blue light. Still running, he sighs. Still falling. He dips his horn one last time, not for a god or king, but for you. Dust like crushed amethyst drifts down. The oldest tech, he whispers. Older than fire, older than language. Beyond labs, beyond wars, beyond empires, rest remains. The Lethe's murmur swells into a lullaby older than consciousness itself. He poppies soften now, their edges blurring like watercolor dropped into still water. The hum of distant cities, the glow of screens, the weight of unsolved questions, they all grow faint, muffled under layers of deepening twilight. Breathe in the scent of rain-damp earth after a long drought, cool and clean. Breathe out the tightness in your shoulders, the buzz behind your eyes, the stubborn thoughts that circle like tired birds. Let them go. There's no map to follow here, no data to parse, no history to untangle. Only the gentle, inevitable pull of the tide within you, ebbing towards stillness. Feel the weightlessness spreading, from your fingertips, up your arms, through your chest, like warm ink pooling in the hollows of your bones. Your heartbeat slows, not as a duty, but as a soft agreement with the darkness. The cave isn't stone anymore. It's the quiet space behind your own eyelids, vast and welcoming. Hypnos's wings aren't feathers, but the faintest brush of air from a fan across your skin. His horn, just the sigh escaping your lips as you sink deeper, deeper still. There's no past tense here, no future tense, only the soft, continuous present of rest. The wars are silent, the labs are dark, the unanswered questions dissolve like sugar in warm tea, sweet and irrelevant. You are floating in the warm, Silent river that needs no name, cradled by the oldest kindness in the universe. No effort, no striving, just surrender. Deeper, slower, softer. The last flicker of waking thought guttering out. The cool side of the pillow against your cheek. The infinite, velvet embrace of nothing that asks for nothing. Deeper, slower, gone. Sweet dreams.